My name is Marlene Guzman. I am 34 years old. I am the twins' mom, Azio and Surreal Velasquez. And I also have a third son, which he is my little man, Jael Velasquez.
What was your immigration story like?
So, Surreal has asked me to talk about my immigration life. And I want to say life because it has been a big part of our household. I came to the United States when I was 11 years old. And it was in November of 2005. It was November 17th of 2005. That's when we arrived to Bonita Springs, Florida, in a Greyhound bus that we had been on for the past 2 days. And it was my mom, my brother Oscar, and myself. It was just the three of us. My dad had already been here for a few months prior to that. So he was the one that actually got to pay the tickets and brought us over. And I remember when we were getting off the bus, I wanted to be like, oh, there's my dad, you know, we got here, we're here. And she would be like, oh, shut up, you can't be making any noises, because they're gonna know that we're illegal. So that's what the moment that I knew that it was like, we were here, but not really here, kind of thing. So I was 11, my brother was 10. A little bit soon after that, my mom got pregnant and she had my sister, which my sister happened to be born on November 15 the following year, exactly the day that we left Mexico. And I think that was always like a reminder of the day that we left. My brother and I started at school, and I was in 5th grade and he was in 4th grade. So by the following summer, I was supposed to be held back because when you come from Mexico, you don't know any English. And even though the academics in Mexico are much higher than here in certain areas, the English part is always, that always keeps you behind. My brother and I managed to caught up, and we left it. We went on to the next grade, and they said, no, I think they'll be fine. And we went on to the next grade, so I went to middle school. And I was in ESO classes for my whole middle school years. And, you know, that was kind of embarrassing, but at the same time, it was my life. So I really didn't know any other way. There was a group of us, you know, that some of them I still have contact with. So it was very nice to start that relationship with some of those friends that I still keep in contact with once in a while. But anyways, so then after that, I went on to high school, and by that point, I was no longer in ESO classes. My grades were pretty much straight A's, and I was a pretty good student. And because of being a pretty good student, I pretty much got to do a lot of what I wanted to do. My dad separated by this point. He went back to Mexico. She stayed here. And now it was just my mom, my brother, my sister, and I. And then it was like a new little life started. So then I had to start working. I still kept going to school. And that's where I met the twins' dad. And so I got pregnant at 15. I still managed to finish high school because I always knew I wanted to go to college. Even though I didn't have papers all this time, I couldn't go to college even if I wanted to when I graduated. But I knew one day, somehow, some way, it was going to happen. So I managed to finish high school. I remember being on the bus for 2 hours because I needed to go from Bonita Springs all the way to Fort Myers to a special school where I could take them with me. and I would be in the bus for 2 hours so I could finish high school. So I finally finished my high school. I went on to, working in Taco Bells and working in KFCs and working in the different places where you could work as an illegal person, and kind of left that immigration part just waiting for a moment for my opportunity to come by. After a few years, because of domestic violence that had happened with my dad when we were younger, this opportunity came up with this called Visa U. This Visa U gives opportunities to victims of any kind of victim in the United States to get status. So someone told us about that, and we kind of were like skeptical about it. We're like, no, it sounds too good to be true. So we kind of left it alone, and another lawyer told us the same thing, and we kind of went like, well, maybe we should look into it. We started looking into it, and by this point, 10 years had passed from when this abuse had happened, and it was true that we were able to get our status. So we started the paperwork. My brother, my mom, and I started the paperwork, and since we started the paperwork, we had already been in United States for just about 8 years. Or 10 years, because it had already been 10 years. So the abuse started almost as soon as we got here, and that's why they had split up. And there was police reports and everything. So when we started the paperwork, it was almost 10 years that this had all happened. So we had already been in the United States for almost 10 years, like I said, and we started the paperwork then. I think it was 2005, 2007, around there, that when we started the paperwork. And when I actually got my green card, my work permit was in 2003, I want to say. No, it wasn't too long after that. It was 95, 2003. No, I must have been 2008.
Specifics don't matter. Right.
Okay. Well, when I got my green card, I said, here's my opportunity to go to college. So that's the first thing I did. I applied for college, and when I got my work permit, and for my surprise, a work permit is not enough to go to college because you still have to pay out of your own pocket. So then I said, okay, fine, I'll wait until I get my green card. I had to wait 5 years. When somebody gets a work permit from any kind of process, you still have to wait 5 years, which is like a probational period, like being on probation for any kind of way. That's your immigration probation period. So then I was there for 5 years. Then after that, my work permit expired. And I was illegal again for like 2 months when my green card came in. And I was like devastated because my license had expired and everything again, like you go back to square one. But it was just delayed in immigration that they send their green card late. So when the green card comes in, I'm talking to that, I've been on this process for another 7 years. And when my green card comes in, I said, I'll apply for college. And so I did. And then this time, I was told that my high school diploma was not accredited because it was from a Christian all-mothers program that had closed, and it was fraud and all this nonsense. So I said, okay, fine, I'm just going to do it again. So I worked on my GED again, and I got it. And then I applied a third time for my college degree, and now I'm finally in college, which that's an amazing thing because it's been, years in the making. And for my green card, actually, I've had it for 5 years. It's going to be in June, and I'm finally going to be able to apply for my citizenship and by the end of this year, I'll be able to have my citizenship. So ever since I came here from 11 years old, and now I will be almost 35 years old, that's how long it would take me to get to be able to be a full citizenship. A full U.S. citizen of the United States.
Talk about Pancho real quick.
So, the twins' dad, his name is Vicente. When he came to the United States, he was only 14, and he got papers from one of the amnesties that was back in the 80s. The amnesty that he got on was the wrong one because it was different amnesties. There was one for Mexicans, there was one for Guatemalans, there was one for people in Salvador, so it was just different ones. And apparently his dad got him into the wrong one, or there was some kind of mixed up in there somehow. So he was not able to go through his paperwork, and the things between him and I just didn't work out. So when the twins were about 7 years old, him and I split it up, and I moved to Plant City. That's when I met Pancho Francisco, which everybody calls him Pancho. And Pancho also got the amnesty in 1985, when Ronald Reagan signed the big amnesty in 85, and he was one of the recipients for that amnesty. And he has worked in the fields all his life. The only difference between the twins' dad and Pancho was that their dad was deported because of all the problems in his paperwork, and when Pancho was able to do all his paperwork correctly. So there's another perfect example how two people that kind of started out the same way when, completely wrong. One of them went completely wrong because of paperwork mislead and mistakes. Another thing that we have in our family is my mom, that she actually
Let her talk.
Oh, well, I guess my mom's gonna give you guys her own story in a little bit. But do you have any other? Well, Pancho has had his residency
Mother,
for 20 years.
You gotta let Flacco ask you questions. Bro, you gotta ask him more questions. This is an interview. This is when...
It's fine, Jet. It's fine.
You just messed up the...
It's only day 3, but I see progress.
Oh, no.